Was one day I woke up and I get a call, your sister has leukemia. And I'm like, your whole world get flips upside down.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of
Coffee Breakup.
Please like this video down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and ring that notification bell.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Website.
CoffeeBreakup.com.
Everything is there. If you're on the go, Spotify and iTunes. But if you can watch, we recommend YouTube is your way to go.
Only way to go.
So, yeah, Marvin.
We got a nice little guest today. Mariana, what's up?
Hey.
What's up, girl?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All good over here.
We're
so
good.
Very preliminary. So I met this girl one day randomly on the beach through one of my friends. So she follows the podcast and she started reaching out and we're always looking for good topics to discuss. And so you had presented pretty much a heavy hitting kind of lineup of topics you wanted to talk. Yeah. And I sent the screenshot, I sent it to you. And you're like, damn, I kind of like that. Yeah. And I loved it because there are things that I think a lot of people need to be kind of understanding, and maybe they need to acknowledge that they may need to, or maybe they had one and they're kind of fighting it. Who knows? But I think if we talk about it, I think it's going to be, exciting to really explore that from what you went through with yourself. So if anybody else is listening and they're like, oh, that's what's happening to me.
Exactly. Or like, I didn't even think about this. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, huge change in perspective. And you're like, why? We're so used to and comfortable with our own kind of thought process. So the fact that you had something that you're used to one thing, roadblock. No, I wouldn't even see a roadblock. It's like this epiphany almost.
Epiphany, and it changes everything.
Yeah. So I think that's exciting. But for starters, please introduce yourself and just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're born, school, all that good stuff.
Okay, so my name is Mariana. I'm 23. I just turned 23 this month.
Oh, happy belated. Well, this episode's probably going to be out like in 1,000 years, but happy belated.
I'm a Virgo.
Happy belated.
So, I was born and raised in Miami. My family is Colombian. They moved here, because of the Pablo Escobar era. I was the first one out of my family born here. So I got the,
Really? How many? You got a lot of brothers and sisters?
I have a sister.
One. Okay.
Yeah. My family.
I'm so sorry. So then she's older then, right?
No, she's younger.
You were born here.
I was the first one born here.
Oh, the first one. I think you were the only one.
The first one out of my whole family.
Oh, huge generational change.
I'm first generation. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The only one out of my family to receive a bachelor's degree. I went to FIU, majored in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. I'm currently working at a law firm right now as a legal assistant, and I have plans. Actually, I'm currently studying for my LSAT because I want to go to law school. And I pretty much want to go into medical malpractice because of, something traumatic that happened to me. Ooh. And because I kind of take under my boss, and that's what he specializes in, and I've kind of gotten like a love for it. It's, pretty much insane what you see at work, and defending these people that, pretty much were wronged by a hospital, by a doctor, all that negligence, overlooking something so small that, ends up turning into something so big. But besides career-wise, I'm just born and raised in Miami. I love the beach. I love reading. I love roller skating. I love being with my friends. I guess trying new things. I love eating. I love trying new restaurants, drinking. Yeah. That's pretty much just taking it day by day.
That's cool.
Okay. And so you're in school. You finished school already, but you want to go to law school.
Yeah, I finished my bachelor's in 2019, and I have plans of, hopefully, God willing, going to law school next year.
You have your eye on any schools?
I want to stay in Miami. I definitely. I have my eye on FIU Law just because their bar exam passing rates have been number one in all of Florida for the past couple of years.
That's true.
It's like a great school to go.
Yes,
for law.
It's just pretty crazy because you wouldn't really think FIU is almost like this little niche of a school in Miami.
They have a good reputation, but they're not like UF.
It's not a UM or a UF.
Exactly.
Like
they're not a private institution.
Yeah, but look at those the passing of the bar. Yeah,
but they've been number one in all of Florida. All of Florida.
Crazy.
All the law schools in Florida, they've been number one.
It's crazy. I saw that too.
I saw that.
That's awesome.
But it's been like this for a couple of years now.
For a couple of years.
Yeah, bro. If I use nasty, bro.
No, they're good. They're like 89-90% every year.
And bro, it's a young school. Like It's not that.
That's what I'm
School's been
saying.
around for like,
Dude, what's
grand
crazy?
scheme of things.
When I was in college, I mean, I graduated in 2011. No, that was high school.
That was high school, dude.
So 2015, 2014,
Oh my God, I
15.
graduated 2017.
Oh my God.
Really? No, but it was so crazy because back then, dude, there were like no buildings. Like there was a handful of buildings, but you drive by that school now and it's like
super.
it's like a city.
Yeah.
Dude, like a whole
Yeah,
different
FIU is
town.
pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
massive, man. I think it used to be like an airport or something like that, or like a big something
I
for
think
plane.
so because they have like a plane. I think.
Yeah, I
like,
think
on
there's like a
campus
tower
or
somewhere. Yeah, it
something
used to
like
be.
that.
it
If
used
I'm
to-
not mistaken.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. That's why it's massive because there's so much real
Oh,
estate there.
it is.
So they're like
Gigantic.
planning. They're always building new stuff because they have the space for it.
They do. Okay.
Anyways, okay.
So, yeah. So you planning on have you ever lived anywhere else other than Miami, or is just Miami
Yes.
kind of
After middle school, I moved to Port St. Lucie. I mean, it's not really anything crazy. It's 2 hours south from Miami. When I first moved there 8 years ago,
Wait, south from Miami.
south is north?
I
no?
mean,
That's
north
north.
from Miami.
It's like south. It's like
Keys.
Why I'm going into law.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
8 years ago when I first moved, I said Port St. Lucie, and everybody would be like, "Where is that?"
Yeah.
Like, I've never heard of that. Where is that? Whatever. Nobody even knew it was in Florida. I say Port St. Lucie now, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
I love
it's
that
grown
place.
like crazy."
Yeah.
It's very mellow. The beaches are beautiful. It's like an ideal place to go if you're gonna retire. Like
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. It's super renovated.
Yeah.
Every time I go visit my parents, because my parents still live there, I always see a new building. Like completely new real estate, new houses, new apartment buildings, new everything.
Yeah. It's
They're
crazy.
constantly expanding like crazy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like a couple of years ago, people would go up there like to chill, like to
chill,
by the beach, because
yeah.
it was like this little small little
Yeah.
area. But now apparently it's like
Yeah, like they don't have any, like downtown. They don't have any
Yet.
high rise
yeah.
buildings.
You wait for
but-
it.
Yeah.
You wait for it.
Yeah,
So okay. So how's you're 23, right?
23. Yeah.
So how's life for you now? 23. Are you seeing anybody, or are you dating anyone, or are you single? Looks at me
I
like
know she's looking at you like,
what the fuck
The
is that?
question that I was avoiding. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
So kind of going back into with somebody that I used to have a relationship with,
okay.
kind of feeling things out to see, where it goes. Hence the whole spiritual awakening in between relationships and the trauma bonds and things like that.
So this was a significant person in your life at one point, or how long were you guys together?
Like a year and a half.
recently, or was it a couple years back?
We broke up probably around the beginning of the year. And, it was, how it is, on and off. You still see each other, de vez en cuando, here and
Toxic,
there.
baby.
Back and
That's
forth.
toxic,
City,
yes. That was us, toxic. Like you look at under the you go in the dictionary and look up toxic, and it was me and him.
So,
Like-
so if it's like that to that point, what makes you think that there's maybe a second chance for you two instead of saying,
Okay,
hey,
so
But before that, hold on. How was the relationship the first time around? Because you were together for a year.
she said toxic.
No, in the in between phase when they were single, because they were still kind of entertaining each other.
But even or like their actual relationship was better than that, or was
No,
it
but
always
when
like-
it started, it must have been.
well, when it started, it
Like,
was
when did things start going down? Why'd you break up? Why'd you continue together in that
okay,
toxicity?
Yeah.
Fucking finish now.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we started dating around 2 years ago, around this time actually, and we just started talking. Everything was good. He kind of started showing me signs of like insecurity and kind of like being controlling. And I was in a relationship before that where I would tell my partner, "Hey, I'm gonna go out with my friends," and he'd be like, "Okay, have fun. Text me when you're done." Because he wasn't the type to be outgoing. He didn't really like going out. He didn't really like partying, and I liked it, and he was okay with that. So I was used to that trust where I could say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that," whether it was males, females, I don't care. If you're my friend, you're my friend. And he trusted me, and I never felt like I needed to go and be unloyal or disloyal. I mean, I never felt like I needed to go and do something behind his back. It was very open. So he did his things with his friends. He had his girlfriends. I had my guy friends, and I was used to that. So when I got into this relationship, which was a year after I broke up with my previous one, I kind of saw that he was showing signs of that. And I was kind of like, I don't know how I'm feeling this, because I didn't want to be with somebody who felt threatened just because I had guy friends or because I liked going out. And the good thing about him is that he did like going out. That's how we met. We met through mutual friends, being out, going on boats, you know, things like that. We were like both in the party scene.
Miami.
It's a Miami love story.
Yeah, for real.
So when we started dating, he kind of calmed down. And not that I also calmed down in a way, but I didn't want to be one of those couples who just stayed at home and watch Netflix every weekend. Obviously, you're not going to be doing the same thing, you know, as you were when you were single, but I don't want to be that boring couple that just forgets about their friends, forgets about their whole life, you know, and revolves their whole life around their partner. I've never been that type of person. I'm my own person. You're your own person. If we're going to share this life together, we're going to share our life when it's necessary. But as far as my family, as far as my friends, as far as my girls, like there's times that I need to do things by myself. There's times where you don't need to be present 24/7. You know, we don't have to be up and down, attached to the hip for every single thing. You know, I'm not that type of person. And I feel like he was. So I guess in a way he felt threatened and insecure when he saw me that I was kind of like independent in that way. Like, what do you mean? You know, he has friends that are couples and then they do everything together. They're literally attached to the hip. So I guess, I don't know, maybe his previous relationship, maybe him witnessing his friends do the same thing. Maybe he expected the same thing and I wasn't like that, you know?
Yeah, it kind of sucks because, you know, you whatever trauma he had for him to kind of feel uncomfortable with you, like he had to have something that has happened to him or something that he's just not over for him to be so restrictive and to need to be with a partner like 24. I mean, I know that exists. I think that's a very
extreme.
It's extreme. That attachment styles. It's delicate because, you know, you have to draw a fine line of how you kind of want to handle the distance between each other and then the time you do spend to keep it balanced.
I know the majority of the time you're gonna, you know, spend it with your partner. I mean, not majority, but I would say like a 70%. Like, hey, let's go eat. Hey, let's go to the movies. Hey, let's go to this family.
I mean, it's convenient having that partner.
It depends where you are in life. You know, like if you're living together, if you have kids together, there's different stages. Like we've had a couple on who are married now, have 3 kids. They do everything together. And they love doing that, and that works for them. Marcel and Leah. Like I call them, like every time I talk to them, they're like together. They're at the gym, at home, but they have a family, and for them it works for them.
Exactly.
But they also.
But at the same time, like what you're saying is, and we've said it before, like you are you before you get into a relationship.
100%.
You know, and what I don't like about relationships, you know how people say when you get married or when you're in a relationship, like you become one. That's I think the stupidest thing. That's the worst thing ever.
I'm my own person. I want you to be your own person.
Exactly. So I hate it when they're like, oh yeah, because of marriage, like now we're one. It's like, I don't like now when I think about it, because I want to be happy with someone, but to now shift your mindset and say, oh, now we're one. It's like,
no,
but we're not.
Because that would imply that without that person, you're not whole. And like one is still a
like
whole number.
I want to feel complete without my partner. I want to feel happy. I want to be at peace. I want to feel like I'm okay with or without this person. You know, obviously heartbreaks exist, and obviously that absence that's gonna hit you like a train in the beginning because you're so used to it. You know, like you're comfortable. It's like you're accustomed to it. You're accustomed to the presence of somebody being in your life all the time, you know, and the majority of the time. But that's more of their presence. Like as me being aligned with who I am, me being happy with what I bring to the table, with the person that I am, you know, things like that. Like, I know I'm complete with or without that person.
Yeah, I would want my partner to add to my life, not me rely on my partner to be in my life. And I think
I'm already at 100%. Give me 110%. Give me 150%.
I like that.
Alex, you watching this down? Better pull that.
Yeah. No, because a lot of people are like, oh, like, you know, it's almost you're diminishing yourself just because by implying that you're not worthy without this person or you're not whole without them.
Exactly.
When I think true genuine relationships, beautiful long lasting relationships are only that because you complement each other. You know, you don't just you're still your own person, and it's so important.
Yeah.
You know, especially at, you know, maybe even more so for your age, because you're like learning everything, what you like, what you don't like, what you do, and that requires a certain amount of solitude almost, you know?
No, but think about this. Like, imagine if someone asks you, what do you bring to the table? And you're like,
I am the table.
You want to be like, yeah, like I can bring this. Like, I am the table. I can do this. Instead of like, oh, but now we become one. And now it's like, okay, so you're only going to bring whatever
napkins, and I'm bringing the whole feast.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so you need me to bring what you want to bring to the table. Like, no, who are you first? And add to my life. And now let's build together rather than rely on someone to help you build. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's still rewarding to find that also, because if you can find that one person that loves you genuinely and wants to like help you, that's one thing. But you know, I feel like you need to have something to bring to that relationship.
Yeah, no, it's important to have that individuality, and it's something that you can complement each other. And when you say, you know, like you're not just the same version of this person, you know. So I think it's important.
So okay, so then, but the relationship before that one, where you were able to go out and stuff like that, why did that one end?
Okay, so not to bash him, nothing. It was pretty much not a mutual breakup. Like I did break up with him, but he was the type of person who he didn't like going out. He didn't like music. Like he would listen to the radio. Who listens to the radio?
Okay, hold on.
Like he didn't have music that he liked.
Okay, so you guys just didn't have, different interests.
Yeah, like he liked play. Like we dated when I was 18 until I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
So like almost 2 years. So I was young, you know, I had just gotten out of high school. So I didn't really know, you know, what a real relationship was. You know, I had my little relationships here and there throughout high school, but this one was like, I guess like my first real that I felt like I was really in love. We just didn't have a lot in common. Like in the beginning, I felt like we did. You know, we went to middle school together, actually. We would walk home together. And we actually like reconciled, or reconnected, I guess, like after a while, after a couple years. And I just felt like when we first started, we were at the same level. And then I kind of started growing and maturing and kind of taking life more seriously. And I just felt like he just stayed here. You know, he had mommy and daddy money. He wasn't conceited or anything. He was very humble, but he just relied on that too much. Like he was just too comfortable to where he was. You know, I was going to graduate like in a year and I had already surpassed him. Like he was falling behind like in school. Like he was just comfortable. He was taking 2 classes. I'm here taking 5. And he stayed in the same job, you know, doing the same thing. And I'm here trying to grow and trying to benefit myself. And he just stayed in the same spot. And then aside from that, you know, all he wanted to do was play video games with his friends, you know, go to soccer games, you know, he played soccer. You know, things like that. And I just felt like I kept growing and he just stayed in the same place. And I guess eventually I fell out of love because it just wasn't fulfilling me in the way that I guess needed, you know?
Well, you know, especially at that age, what happens is people grow at different rates.
Yeah.
And
which
there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, and then women do tend to grow and mature a little bit faster than men. It's just the way it is. But, you know, and that's why you date, you get into relationships at 18. I mean, it's normal for that to happen, and there's nothing really wrong with it per se, as long as in the long term this guy obviously gets his act together, which hopefully he is getting. It happens. So okay, but that was the first guy.
Yeah.
And then so you guys split up, then you went to the second guy. So then this guy, he was the complete opposite almost.
Pretty much.
He always wanted to be with you or do what you wanted.
I guess like I don't want to say now, but when we started dating and I started seeing how he was, I think he had what my previous relationship lacked, and he lacked what my previous relationship had. It was like a yin yang type of thing. You get me? Like I have so much fun with him when we go out. He gets along with everybody. He's very outgoing. And then the other one was the complete opposite. Very shy, very to himself, very like, oh, if it's not my friends, I don't feel comfortable going.
Right.
I don't like going out. But then he was great at communicating. I could count with my hands how many big fights we had. Like we communicated very well. Like we had a good relationship in that aspect. And then with the other one, like with the most recent one, it was constantly fighting, and then big fights pretty much like every other day. Like it was bad. But I mean, I had my faults too. Like I don't want to point fingers or anything because, you know, I wasn't in the right headspace. I was, you know, whatever. It's not an excuse, but it is what it is.
Plus, since you're kind of trying to talk to him again, you want to make sure it looks good.
Yeah.
Right? So then, after all of that was going on, what was the fact, like the actual decision to say, okay, we're ending this? What happened for you to say, hey, we're done? Because think about it. You're now revisiting. It's like the ending of a movie that we talked about with Gabby.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the movie ends, but the whole thing is good. Maybe we need to rewatch the movie again.
Yeah.
Maybe we missed something. That's why the ending sucked.
Yeah.
So what happened that you guys ended the first time? Let's start with that. What happened that you guys ended?
Honestly, we ended so many times that I don't even know when the first time was.
What do you have now after everything that's happened? during the toxic stage and dating. What are we thinking?
Okay,
Why are we doing this?
When we broke up, we didn't speak at all, like not even a single word to each other for like a good month and a half. And then I ended up reaching out, drunk calling. Oh. It's one of those. Oh, guilty. Anyway, so that happened, and then I kind of wanted to like speak in person because I never felt like he let me explain myself, because I wanted to give him context. Like I was in the wrong, but it wasn't like a romantic or like, oh, I wanted to get with this guy. Like it was pretty much like a dare. Like it was like a roulette thing. Like, you know, because he like serious. Yeah, he didn't really like let me speak. Like he just took his version and went with it.
Well, you also didn't tell him. So there was like, he gets blindsided.
Exactly. No, and I get it, but it's like, you know, after so much time, I wanted to still kind of talk about it and kind of whatever. So in between that, we kind of just, we would speak here, we would speak there, but, you know, like sometimes he would stay over my house, sometimes I would stay over his, but it never really went anywhere. You know, it never really, you know, went further. It just stayed in the same spot. So recently, when I went to Bimini for my birthday. My birthday was Labor Day weekend. It actually landed on Labor Day this year.
Cool. Okay.
So again, I got very drunk and he was there. And we were speaking about it actually previously, because it was not with his friends directly, but it was like his kind of group of people that he's been with before. So he's like, oh, we're going to run into each other. Don't disrespect me. I'm not going to disrespect you, but you'll be with your people and I'll be with mine. And I was like, okay, fine. That's fine. And then on the boat, got very drunk. And then one thing led to another. And I pretty much spent the whole weekend with him. Okay. And then when we got back, we kind of had the talk of, okay, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to give false expectations, false hope. What is going to happen? Because we can't keep being in the same cycle of going back and forth of we see each other one day and we don't speak for a week, and then again, and then here and then there. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened, but I guess my feelings came rushing back from one moment to another. And I guess his did too. And I guess we're in the trial and error period, but it's been going pretty well, I would say. Like, it hasn't been like how it was before. Because the time that we took apart from each other, like, I know for sure I grew a lot. I got new perspectives. I kind of, you know, like realigned my life completely. Like, I mean, we can get into that, like, you know, in the other conversation, but
so you're saying it's not the same, and
no, at
so
all.
It's good, positive.
That's a good thing, right? So so, you know, people break up and they get together. It's not supposed to be the same, otherwise why, you know, get back?
Yeah, we made it very clear to each other. If we get back and if we're gonna give this, you know, a second try, it's because it's not gonna be the same. It's because it's not going to be the same route, the same cycle, the same routine as it was before. Because we both had faults, and because of both of us, that's why the relationship went wrong. So at least on my part, I know what I need to fix. I know what bothers him and what doesn't bother him, and then he knows what bothers me and what doesn't bother me and what he needs to fix. You know, like, we had a lot of issues because of his anger issues, because he is a reactive person. I'm more of a type of person where if we have an issue, I'm gonna be like, hey babe, let's talk about it. This bothered me. I didn't like the way that you reacted. I didn't like the way that you handled this situation. I didn't like what you did. How can we fix this? How can we come to an agreement? How can we prevent this from happening again in the future? He was a type of person that there was no sitting down. Then it was, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Oh, you're so stupid, whatever. Like, he was very degrading. Like, he made those type of comments, and I'm not like that. I'm a very mellow person. You could do me the ugliest way ever, and the way I'm gonna react is, okay, let's talk about it. I'm not gonna be angry. Like, I'm gonna be angry, but I'm not gonna show it in a way of you know, like in an angry, aggressive way. Like, I'm not gonna scream. I'm not gonna raise my voice. I'm not gonna insult you. I'm not that type of person. So lately, what I've been seeing is that we're able to sit down and actually talk about things. You know, like, I could tell that sometimes that side of him wants to come out, but then he like kind of is like, let me just chill. And then we're able to talk things through and come to an agreement. And then, you know, like, the communication has improved a lot, like complete opposite from what I experienced the first time.
If you say he was degrading or whatever, speaking to you in that way, what made you say, hey, let me stick through this. Hey, let me hold on. Hey, let me accept
this. if we can get into the trauma bond.
Okay. Let's get into trauma bonds.
Okay. So I'm very vocal about this. So my sister passed away last year in May 2020.
Okay.
She had cancer. She was diagnosed in January 2019. She was cancer-free by April 2019. The doctors recommended her doing what is called a bone marrow transplant to prevent the leukemia from coming back, because once it comes back, it's usually more aggressive and harder to treat. So when that happened, she did the bone marrow transplant, and I came to recently find out a few months ago that it was because of medical malpractice, because she didn't die from the cancer. She died from the mismanagement of the bone marrow transplant. You know, you have a certain protocol that you have to follow, certain medications that you have to be on, and, you know, the amount of medication, how do you say that? Like the dosage of medication that she had to be on, and all of that was mismanaged. Jeez. So it's normal for your body to reject something foreign to your body when it's not yours, which is why the medications come into place to manage that, you know, to kind of calm it down. Oh, if I'm breaking out in a rash, if I'm doing this, if my body's reacting because it's rejecting it, that's normal. So that's when the whole medications come into play. They completely mismanaged that. They completely overlooked, you know, the complaints. Oh no, this is normal. Oh no, come back later if it gets worse. Oh no, that's part of the transplant and what it comes with it. Everything was kind of dismissed. And, you know, fast forward, her lungs started getting sick. She got something that was called GVHD. I don't know what it stands for.
But what is it?
It's like a lung disease type of thing. So it started attacking her lungs. So she started needing oxygen. So it first started with like the little oxygen.
Graft versus host disease?
Graft versus host disease, yes.
It's a syndrome characterized by inflammation in different organs.
Yeah, so she got that in her lungs. Jesus. Okay, so that's pretty much what happened. And then she started needing oxygen. And then this was in the middle of the pandemic. So she's immunocompromised. So if she gets sick, she could literally die. Like even with a common cold, she could literally die. So and especially when COVID came out, I had to stay home. I couldn't be in contact with anybody. I was super strict with that. So around the beginning of March, she was admitted into the hospital. She started needing oxygen. So they were talking about, oh, maybe we can send her home with an oxygen tank if she gets better. She started getting a little bit better, but then she got worse. And then from that, she ended up needing the mask that like covers like your nose and your mouth. From that, the mask it's like a BiPAP mask, I think it's called, that covers your whole face. And she was already like out of it, kind of. Yeah, like she couldn't really speak. You know, she was complaining. And then the last resort, which is what the doctors didn't want to resort to, was being intubated, because it's really hard to come back from that. So I remember speaking to her and like saying bye to her, because she was gonna be heavily sedated, like she wasn't gonna be conscious. And I said bye to her, and that was the last time I ever spoke to her. And then 2.5 weeks later, she passed away. She didn't make it. Yeah, like her lungs got too sick, and it's just something that she couldn't bounce back from. And then her other organs started failing, like her liver, her kidneys, and eventually like her heart stopped beating. I mean, she defeated a lot of odds, because the doctors throughout those last 2.5 weeks that she was intubated would tell my mom she only has a day or 2 days left, and her levels would drop. And then the next day when I would come back, I was at the hospital every day. The next day when I would come back to the hospital, her levels were up again and she was doing better. And they'd be like, oh my God, like we didn't think that this was possible. And then towards the end, which was really when things kind of got messed up, is she had 2 strokes in her brain. And they were like, even if she does wake up and come back from this, like she's going to be like pretty much disabled. Yeah. And I know my sister, and she's the type of person that, you know, she loved the beach probably more than I did. She's always said, oh, I'm a Miami girl. I'm this, I'm that. I love partying, you know. Like my sister was sneaking out, smoking at 13. Like she was, and I would get mad. I was like,
I'm rowdy.
Yeah, like she was very adelantada, you know. She was already drinking and smoking the little sticks, and obviously as a big sister I was getting mad, And then now seeing what happened, it's like if she subconsciously knew that her time here on earth was short, that she was just trying to get through all the little experiences as a teenager, like out, you know? It's like, what am I going to get mad at now? Like, now I understand why she started so young. At the time, obviously, none of us knew. But it's like subconsciously, it's like, it's like she knew, you know, that she was going to be short-lived. And
it's crazy.
So, I mean, yeah, that happened in May 2020. She always, again, loved the ocean, loved the beach. So we threw her ashes in the water, in the ocean, in front of the lighthouse at Key Biscayne. So we kind of go to the lighthouse and, you know, in memory of her. Because since we threw it, we were on the boat, and on her birthday, it landed on a Saturday. So we got all of my family and her closest friends to come out, and we dropped the ashes in the water. So I feel like now she's able, you know, like, you know, the ocean, 70% of the earth. I feel like she's just going throughout the world, and she's just connected with everything.
That's probably why you like going to the beach so much.
Yeah.
It's like you see her.
I actually feel, that's one of the reasons why I love going to the beach so much, because I feel connected to her. Like, you know, like, I always think like we dropped her in the water. Like, this is how I feel reconnected to her. This is where I feel like I'm in tune with her. Like, I can speak to her. Like, whenever I feel like I need advice, whenever I feel like I have an issue going on in my life, something that I would go to her, that I would like to speak to her about, like, I just go to the beach and I just sit in the water and I just think of her.
Wow.
Holy.
That's a lot. Obviously, you know, I'm incredibly sorry for your loss. It's hard.
It is.
Especially at you know, at such a young age, you know, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, she was 16. 17, I'm sorry.
You haven't even started living yet.
I'm sorry, 16. When she passed away, she was 16. She would be 17 right now.
See, you know, like, so much life ahead. And, you know, obviously that must have been so incredibly difficult for you and your family and everybody involved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously it hits me every day like a ton of bricks. But definitely my mom is the one that definitely.
You know, 2 kids now, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I never replaced my mom. I mean, I never replaced my sister, but at least she has somebody to lean on, because my sister's dad, because we didn't share the same father, he doesn't have any other children. So it's like, who do you have to lean on, you know? And he doesn't have a good support system, you know, with his family, you know. His mom has Alzheimer's. His sisters, you know, don't live in the area or aren't really like in his life. Like, they were present when she passed away, but they're not really there for him. So it's like, who does he really have, you know?
Dude, I remember there was this one guy when I used to work at my old bank, and he told me the same thing. He's like, everybody has the same amount of time in their life. You have the start date, you have your end date, and you have a dash. That dash in the middle is the time that you put in to do whatever it is that you want to accomplish. If you got to go at a faster pace because that's what your dash wants you to do, you do everything you can. It's what you do in between the start date and the end date that pretty much like describes and pretty much puts like that stamp of who you are and what you do in your life. So when he told me, and I'm like, damn, it's true, because some people, they have, you know, 100 years to live. Other people only have 10. But it's like, what did you do with those 10 years?
Those 10 years,
you know what I mean? You can do so much and accomplish so much in 10 years that someone in 100 years wouldn't do, because they chose not to do it.
And like, not because she's my sister, but like, I don't like to say was, because I like to keep her like alive.
Sure.
So I say is. Like, she is a type of person, when she was here, that she would attract people who needed help. Like, when she got sick, and right before she got sick, she had 3 friends, and 2 girls and 1 guy that I still talk to this day, and that I will always remember because of their situations. You know, one, her dad was like schizophrenic. Her dad was like always on drugs and in and out of jail. So her, let's call her Abby.
Sure.
I don't want to say her name.
Sure.
So then Abby would, you know, turn into drugs. And mind you, they were friends when she was like 15, 16. And she was already doing drugs. Like, I'm not even talking about weed. I'm talking about drugs.
Yeah, hard drugs.
You know, she was in a very dark place. And she feels like my sister saved her, you know.
But
like, things like that. Like, she attracted people like that. When she moved here to Miami, she made another friend. Let's call her Jennifer. So, Jennifer, her mom was always working full time, working at bars. She has 2 little siblings, and the mom was pretty much like, this is your responsibility. Even though you're not a mom, even though you're just a regular 16, 17-year-old girl who wants to go out and have fun with her friends, you're going to be a mom right now. You're going to take care of the kids when I'm at work. So she was very deprived of, you know, her adolescence, her youth. And she always, you know, she was going through a lot at the time, and she would cry, and she would come to my house, and she would cry to my sister, and she was at a very low point in her life. And my mom literally wanted to take her in, and she's like, if I could, I would take you in. And she would literally come to our house like as a scapegoat kind of thing. And she was like, I never felt so comfortable, you know, opening up and being somewhere like as when I was with your sister. Another guy that she was friends with, my mom was speaking to him recently, and he was like, oh, he's in high school. And he's like, yeah, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm doing this. I'm trying to save up for a car. And my mom was like, why are you working 2 jobs? Like, you're supposed to be focusing on school and getting into college. Like, why isn't your dad helping you? Oh, he kicks me out of the house sometimes. Like, I have to kind of like fend for myself. And my mom was like, what the hell? So my sister was like literally the safe haven for these people. Like, she was there for people like this. And I'm sure there was many more, because I've seen posts of like, oh, and whenever I was down, like I would go to her. Whenever I was going through something, like she would always give me the best advice. Every time I would call, she would answer. Like, she was that person. Like, I remember when I was young, it's a stupid example, but like, not that I'm selfish, but I would never have her in mind as in like, oh, I'm getting food, let me get something for her. Like, I would just get food for myself. I would never be like, hey, you want anything? Like, you know, I was selfish in that aspect with her. And then, you know, when her and my mom were alone, my mom would be like, you know, we were buying clothes, and she asked like, oh, why don't we get Mariana something? Why don't we take her some food? Like, we're eating some right now. I wasn't even with them. I would be home or at school, and she would be like, oh, let's get Mariana something. Let's do this for Mariana, or whatever, this for Mariana. She wouldn't, obviously she never worked. She was young, but any money that she would collect, you know, through birthdays, through Christmases, like she'd be like, oh, I'll treat you. And I'm the working one. And she'll be like, no, I'll treat you. It's okay. I'll pay for it. And it was like things like that she touched like so many lives in the short time that she was here. Like, she had like a gift, I would say.
Maybe she was like an angel or something, you know.
That's what I consider.
One of my coworkers, she was telling us a story about her son, and like there was like this I don't want to say like una santera, like those people who can like see like angels and speak to angels or whatever. One of those things. I don't know if I believe them, but whatever. She goes
like a medium,
I guess. And she pointed at her youngest son, and she's like, who is that? She's like, oh, that's my son, whatever. He's like, that kid has something. There's something there that he has.
Wow.
He's just like, she was reading it, and then after all the stories that like she said about her kids and stuff like that, like we started to make sense. Like, maybe he has something, you know, like some energy that we can't see, but someone that has those like superpowers or whatever can be like, I'm getting this energy that I'm feeding from them. Something is there.
I definitely believe in energies. And I feel like I've gotten signs from my sister. On my birthday, I was getting home, and I asked her, I was getting back from Bimini, and mentally I always ask her for a sign, and it was my birthday. So I'm like, I want a sign from you. So I was getting home. I was at my grandparents' house with my family, and it was like 10:30 p.m. And I'm going up the stairs, and butterflies remind me of my sister. I have 2 butterflies tatted behind my ear, and they're very symbolic to me. And when she passed away, like for like 2-3 weeks, every day I would look out the window, I would see a butterfly. Every single day. I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh, I got a story for you.
So, butterflies in general. Every time I see a butterfly, I'm like, oh my God, a butterfly. Like, I'm fascinated by them. I went to New York earlier this year, and I was seeing like a butterfly. I don't know. It was like a piece of art, and the person who was working at the exhibit was like, oh, it's such a shame that butterflies are so beautiful and their average lifespan is only 2 weeks. And I didn't know that. And it just meant so much more to me, because butterflies for me resemble my sister. And the fact that they have a short span of 2 weeks is like it's like the lifespan that she had. So that's why it meant even more to me. I was like, wow. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, I never even knew that. So it brings me back to my birthday. It's 10:30 at night, and I'm going up the stairs, and I just look to the side, like by the trees, and I see a yellow butterfly, like a fluorescent yellow butterfly. And I go to my best friend, because she's my roommate, and I'm like, oh my God, a yellow butterfly. And then I go inside my house, and I'm like, I've never seen a butterfly at night. And then I Google it, and they're not nocturnal at all. And it's 10:30 p.m. It's not even like the sun is setting or like the sun just set. It's 10:30 p.m. and I see a butterfly, and they're like, oh no, they're not nocturnal at all. Like they already go into hiding before the sun sets. I was like, okay. I was like, thank you, Isa.
What up, sis?
Yeah. I remember another time, when her first month anniversary of after when she passed away, I got off at CVS and I wanted to get a candle for her. So I'm looking for the candles, and you know how like in the aisles, like they have like little stands of random things that they're trying to promote. So when my sister lost her hair and it was growing back, you know how kiwis are kind of like fuzzy. Okay, yes. So her nickname and her name on my phone till this day is Kiwi. Like I would always call her Kiwi because you know she was bald.
Yeah, but the little fuzz.
Yeah, she was like the fuzz was coming out. So I'm looking for the candles. I go all the way down to where the candles were, right next to the candle, like literally like right next to the candle.
Kiwis.
It wasn't Kiwis. It was a brand called Kiwi. Right next to the candles that I was getting. I didn't go in for anything else. I just got the candles. That's the only purpose of why I even went into CVS. And when I look, it's like a brand that was like, I think it was like rat poison. It was super random. I'm like, why would you name this Kiwi? Yeah.
What the hell?
But it said Kiwi. And I was like, okay, that's the sign. I'm like, I'm going to take that as a sign. You know, it's your first month. And that was like a little, oh, hey. So I've had many more, but those are just, you know, little signs that I just believe that it's her, that, you know, like since she can't stand in front of me and talk to me, it's like, hey, I'm here. Hey, you kind of summoned me. Like you wanted a sign, here it is. So it's little things that's like, that's too much of a coincidence, at least for me.
Dude, I think of that. I think our whole lives are scripted, and I can go on like an hour tangent of how I think that we're part of a simulation.